The Muskeg Lake Cree Nation was created in 1881, following the signing of Treaty 6 in 1876. Just over a century later, on October 1, 1988, after months of discussion and planning, Muskeg Lake and the city of Saskatoon entered into a historic agreement, creating the first standalone commercial urban reserve in Canada on 19.2 hectares of land in Saskatoon's Sutherland district. It was an unprecedented situation. When Muskeg Lake first approached Saskatoon with the proposal in 1984, most urban reserves in places like Vancouver and Fredericton existed because the city grew up around a pre-existing community. There were no established procedures for creating a new urban reserve. In the discussions that followed over the next 4 years, officials from Muskeg Lake, the city of Saskatoon, and the federal government had to make it up as they went along, breaking trail for those who would follow in their footsteps.
Sometimes you just had to go on faith, shake that hand, and then figure out how do we backtrack now and set the paperwork right so that it matches the handshake.
We learned as we went along a little bit. For example, when we started,
this was one that was more unique in the sense that it was going to be commercial. You actually had much more scope to it, where the Peter Valentine was only used for educational purposes, and that was it.
There's 45 acres in the city of Saskatoon, and it's Crown land. And that's how that started. And
was enthusiastic about the idea. Just any of the hurdles that came up could be overcome. Both the city and Muskeg wanted this to work.
We got to try. If we succeed, then we're building a solid foundation for our community.
And he was just looking. And I was looking too. And it was Packham Avenue. He wanted to see the Packham Avenue site. He was like, I want to see this. And he was kind of looking at it through his lens of this is where the city is, and this is, like we have an opportunity to make that an Indian reserve down there. So he really had the momentum.
All of us have. Every First Nation has a different perspective of what they're saying on those words, and that's the challenge. Knowing the level at which they're talking about.
it was certainly a benefit to the city having the Muskeg Lake Agreement after TLE. There were a lot of First Nations that were then came to Saskatoon to be looking at land, including First Nations from Southern.
Saskatoon now has 10 urban reserves. We have 3 or 4 more nations that are wanting and ready and interested in negotiations. We have had millions of dollars of investment in our city as a result. I've had thousands of jobs created that Indigenous people benefit from, First Nations, Métis people, non-Indigenous people benefit from. It has only led to success, and I think, when we look about and talk about the journey of reconciliation that has been a fairly big focus, and there's been lots of discussion about, there's just no question that the foundation that was laid for that was not just the agreement, but the way you chose to approach each other, the leadership back then.
With the councils that I had in the 80s, and then Alpha told me, he says, look, you're young, we're older than you. We're all going to be dead, but you're still going to be alive. You have to explain to the people what we were trying to do in the 80s. And we have the people here now, but my old councilors are all gone. But that story has to be told, and then we told it.
We did?
Yeah.
All right.
The creation of the Asimagan-Sikan Aski Urban Reserve continues to bring benefits to both the city and First Nation. As of October 1st, 2024, there are 50 businesses located on the Urban Reserve, employing approximately 750 people. Treaty relationships have been honored, and outstanding land claims are being settled. Contributions have been made to First Nation financial independence and self-determination. Community supports for urban members and those living on the home reserve have been enhanced. The creation of the Urban Reserve is also considered a response to Call to Action number 92 of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, which calls on municipalities to support Indigenous economic participation through education and employment. Muskeg Lake Cree Nation has found a path to build its own wealth, strengthening its identity and confidence through business growth and entrepreneurial spirit among its citizens. Thanks to the strong partnership between the city and Muskeg Lake, the Urban Reserve continues to create a welcoming atmosphere for First Nations in the community. These are just a few of the many economic and cultural benefits enjoyed by the city of Saskatoon and Muskeg Lake Cree Nation when they discovered the power of collaboration and partnership.